Hey folks, how you doing? Robert Wallace here. I guess I'm going to be doing something here for the Breakfast Club because occasionally that happens. But you know, this is just something that's been on my mind for the last couple of days with the Kavanaugh hearings and whatnot in context to that, and a video that I did on my own channel talking about how I felt about him. But it's a topic that's come up, and I've thought about it, and it raises a question, one for which I don't actually have a good answer. Is at what point does pop culture reflect our culture, and at what point does it influence our culture? And sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out where that line is. It's a big, gray, blurry line. You know, but a lot of that would explain the allegations against Kavanaugh. Also would explain the why he doesn't think he did anything wrong. And I believe this because I'm not too much younger than this guy. I mean, I am younger than him. But the party he was, his allegations came out happened in '82. And my big party years were from '87 to '95. So there was some overlap of party culture with variations for regional differences. But the base culture that people took into parties was similar. And going from my own personal experiences, I believe the allegations against him. But my own personal experiences are colored by what we had in our pop culture. I mean, it's not just the whole rapey and racist stuff that was in 16 Candles, where the main character, Jake, hands off his girlfriend, who is way too drunk to know, to another kid who is drunk, and sends them off, telling them you can do whatever you want to her. And at the end of the movie, it appears that they had sex. And that would clearly be rape by today's standards, but by 1980s it was hijinks. And it's not just this one. I brought up in context to this some of the discussions on The Breakfast Club between Molly Ringwald and Ali Sheedy, where they actually talked about how feminine sexuality was dealt with. The virgin, is a prude, but if you have like sex, you're a whore. You know, the whole Madonna whore complex. Which made The Breakfast Club actually pretty self-aware. But a lot of these comedies at a certain level were self-aware of what kids were going through at that time. And that's just the teen movies. You also look at what you see with like the Police Academy movies. With that, there's a lot of stuff in there. It's just, but you look at a lot of the movies that we had during that time, and it's just. You can see Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks is one that definitely comes to mind. You can see where there's the line between the reflecting our culture and how we are partying, how we are relating with the young people, and they're exploring their sexuality with drugs and alcohol, and how they're influencing it, It's just... not to stand up in defense of Kavanaugh, but you can see where we're almost victimized by our own culture. But it's the culture that we're creating, so we're not really victims, But you can see, you look at, I've had conversations about this recently, well, not just these movies, but you look at like Blazing Saddles. That's a movie that could not be made today. You look at a lot of these movies that we really enjoyed through the 1980s, and they just simply couldn't be made today because a lot of the behavior that they espouse people doing as being funny, ha, it's a joke, today is seen as criminal behavior, assault. And these movies just couldn't be made today. But then again, some of these movies, I've noticed with my own DVD collection, I buy these movies whenever I see them. They're nice and cheap because, nostalgia. And in watching these movies, I also realized that anybody who was born like 20 years ago or sooner, they're not going to understand large sections of these movies because the cultural references they have no touchstone to the cultural references. It's just they would simply not get them. They may not even notice that it's a cultural reference in some instances. So these movies are likely dated to the point where after the generation that actually lived through them are no longer watching movies, these movies are going to fall into a dustbin and people are just not going to get it. You know, I mean, Family Guy is going to fall into that trap too because it's so focused on pop culture. But you know, it, I don't know, it all goes back to the whole, you know, at what point does pop culture reflect, and at what point does it influence? And it's interesting. And that was my pointless ramble for the Breakfast Club. Anybody stuck around, thank you for your time. And yeah, so there's that.